So, this is kind of a random video. I was reading a post that showed up on my dash and I got inspired. There were some things I agreed with, some things I didn't, but it got me rambling. That post belongs to Sammy on Air, who is pretty kick-ass. So this post concerned an episode that I never reviewed and I found I had a few opinions on it, and that episode is jet lag. For those of you who don't remember, jet lag is an episode centered around a cute little ginger witness named Nora, who Tony and Ziva have to retrieve from Paris and transport to DC, all the while defending her against an assassin who wants to kill her with peanut dust. I think they might have been going for a sense of irony with someone being murdered with peanut dust on a plane. I think this episode would have been a lot more entertaining if they had just gone with snakes. Overall, my opinion on this episode has always been good beginning, good end. The middle, a little inconsistent. Like, cool, Ziva once killed a guy with a credit card. She's so badass. And then 10 minutes later, she's caught snooping by the air marshal and she has the worst possible poker face. Didn't Ziva used to work in espionage? If that's the best improv she can do under pressure, it's a wonder she's still alive. Now, the biggest thing in this episode is Tony and Ziva. It's pretty much Tiva on a silver platter for all the eager shippers. Well, thank you, I guess? I mean, this episode wasn't perfect, but we did get some Tiva moments. There was cuteness, I can't complain, and I'm a slave to my shipping needs. But on the flip side, you have moments like when Ziva says that Tony likes movies like Bambi, where the mother dies. Which, if she knows that Tony's mother died when he was like 7, which she probably does, it's so mean to the point of being out of character. So while Tiva are off doing their thing, Gibbs, Mickey, and the gang are working on the case. And it's a case, it's pretty run-of-the-mill with a dash of stupid. Most notably, Holly Snow, who was a recurring character in season 7 and was useless. God, in this episode I hated her and her whole, what, no foreplay? I mean, the actress is a pretty girl, but her scenes were neither amusing nor particularly sexy. I feel like they were going for something here with her brazen sexuality. But Gibbs doesn't look as hot and bothered as Holly would like him to be, and he just looks as annoyed as we are. Now, back in the early days of crime shows, mentions of role-playing and rough sex would be considered oh so scandalous. But in this day and age, it takes a little more than a madam in a silk blouse spouting some sexed-up dialogue to distract us from what is a terrible and boring case. Total waste of screen time. The rest of this case was pretty blah, and like a lot of episodes, it didn't really hold my attention. You know, this episode, I feel like it had a good starting point with the team being split up, Tony and Ziva in the air, the rest of the team on the ground, solving the case. But it doesn't feel well executed, and the pacing is weird, and I can't really explain it, but it just feels like by the time the third act rolls around that they built like no tension despite the whole there's a killer on the plane plot. Sammy's post points out, as do other critical reviews, that Tony and Ziva are really bad bodyguards, and they repeatedly abandon the girl they're supposed to be protecting in order to investigate things. And then the girl gets dosed with peanut dust and she goes into anaphylactic shock and they have to give her a shot of epinephrine from a suspicious passenger. Can we trust him, Tony? We don't have a choice, Ziva! And the girl's fine in 20 minutes, which I'm sure is medically accurate. And the girl, Nora, just bothers me. She just seems very two-dimensional despite having a nice medium-sized role in this episode. She's just so happy, my god. And then at the end of the episode, we learn that her fiancé is not so much Prince Charming, more Prince of Darkness, as it turns out he's the one who hired the hitman to kill her, which we can assume shattered her fluffy outlook on life. You know, Nora said that Tony and Ziva remind her of herself and her fiancé. I wonder if one of the points of this episode was just to reinforce rule number 12. Because Nora's relationship was one that started in the workplace and went horribly wrong. In which case, so much for this being a good Tiva episode. Finally, the big thing this episode is if neither of them took the couch, did they or didn't they do the dirty horizontal cha-cha? Which I admit, back in season 7, I loved because it was a nice idea. The writers threw us a bone and it generated a lot of good fanfiction. But did it happen? Honestly, I hope not. Because I'm a perfy fangirl and I would like to see at least some portion of their first honest hookup. But if they did get it together in Paris, are we ever really gonna find out? Because it's been like 2 years, what are they gonna do, just randomly reveal it? Yes, McGee, it's true, we did get pantsless in Paris, and we have decided after 2 years of careful deliberation to do it continuously, regularly, probably in different locations throughout the building. I don't know. Honestly, before reading Sammy's post, I'd kind of forgotten about this little Tiva romp of an episode. I do hope that the writers forget about this episode and instead choose to build on other Tiva episodes, like Truth or Consequences, which are leagues better. So I'm gonna give this episode 2 calf pows out of a possible 5 calf pows. I know I kind of laid into it, but it does still have good Tiva moments. Although another nail in the coffin of this episode is that according to Sammy's post, this episode is actually a ripoff of a CSI New York episode that aired like a year or 2 before, which is just really disappointing. So, what do you guys think? I was on like TV.com or something and I skimmed some reviews for this episode and I get the feeling it's kind of a love it or hate it episode, so just let me know what you guys think. Feel free to defend it or hate on it in the comments below and I'll see you guys later. They or didn't they do the dirty horizontal cha-cha? That's really disturbing.